Hey, Nation, Harry here. This is a very special treat coming at you from the business speak category today. And I am with Jim Beach of School for Startups Radio. And Jim, you and I actually go back a little while. Remember, we were trying to figure out when it was 6, 7, 8, some years ago, we somehow connected. Thank you. And I've been tracking your work. And you recently, you kindly reviewed and had me speak on the Pocket MBA book. I thank you. And in a reciprocal fashion, I want my audience to know about you because, Jim, as I said in our rehearsal, basically everybody at SMB Nation is a startup, right? They don't want to work for the large corporations in IT and technology. In fact, they want to have their own, what we call managed services provider business or computer guy or computer gal business. So I'm gonna ask the obvious in a Hello World interview. What is School for Startups?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to speak with you. School for Startups, first of all, is our philosophy that anyone can be an entrepreneur when we change or better understand the definition of entrepreneurship. The standard guy on the street would say that entrepreneurs are creative people taking risks, starting businesses that they're passionate about. And we wholeheartedly disagree with all three of the big parts of that. It's got nothing to do with creativity. 93% of businesses are copies of existing businesses. So why not just go copy and do it like someone else's, just do it better? We don't believe in risk. I think risking your house or your job or your health insurance or whatever is really silly. I can show you someone who started every business, every category, every demographic, every vertical for under $5,000 and was amazingly successful. And so we're going to limit risk as much as possible. We're not going to start for over 5,000. And the third plank is we don't really care about passion. We think passion is awesome for the church, the synagogue, the mosque, and occasionally, the bedroom and the front porch and the living room. But for businesses, we don't get it. Passion is, for a thing, it's called materialism. Passion for a vocation is meaning that my family is not important. I am passionate about taking my family to Disney 2 or 3 times a year and spending time with my kids. I like what I do. I like my business. And when you look at it that way, all I'm trying to do is do something that's better than working for the man. I am passionate about woodworking, but I'm not good at it. And so therefore I do something else so I have more time to woodwork. That's what School for Startups believes.
Well, that's actually a really interesting point because I tend to be my own harshest critic. And with the year 2020, probably had a little more time on my hands than I'm willing to admit. Just did. I don't have to commute. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I have a little more time. And upon reflection, SMB Nation's a 20-year-old community. And Jim, I certainly had passion. Amen, brother. Had passion with SBS. But to your point, that actually has hurt me because I grew organically. I grew slowly, not always strategically. It was a hell of a lot of fun. And now that I do other startups like the Pocket MBA system that's coming online in Q4, while passionate about it, I'm also much more strategic. And I'll give you an example. A good friend of mine out of Toronto, so John Warwillow, he's a thought leader, and he put out a book, Built to Sell. And this book is there's not a chapter on passion. Okay, this is a book about starting a business, scaling it up, and from day one, waking up in the morning and making strategic decisions to sell the business. And I would offer that might, I'm going to go out on a limb, but that might dovetail with your thinking that, and quite frankly, it's one of my mistakes. So with my new startups, I'm thinking more, what's my exit strategy?
I wholeheartedly agree. That should be part of the initial planning of any business is how the hell are you going to get out of it? My first business, I created a monstrosity that no one wanted to buy, and we eventually had to break it into 5 pieces to find 5 different sales or sellers. But in the end, a business is designed to make your lifestyle better, and it should be doing that on a daily basis, a monthly basis, and eventually at the end of that 5 to 7 year time window should provide the exit. I've seen a lot of data that suggested that month 38, for some reason, is the ideal time to exit. But at that point, you've proved profitability, you've proved that you can scale. You haven't really scaled yet, but that's when to get out so that the other guy can buy all of that growth. So I wholeheartedly agree. And I like what I do, but I've sold a lot of stuff that I don't personally use or I would never have in my house. But you know what? I'm very passionate about the lifestyle I lead, the freedom, the opportunity. If I want to make more, I work harder. If I want to take time off and go play soccer with the kids or do ballet with my daughter, I do that. If I want to work all night, I do that. It's called freedom and opportunity, and that is what I'm passionate about.
There we go. Hey, 2 last points. And I'm on your site, folks. Bookmark schoolforstartupsradio.com. It's down below in the teaser blog as well. So you've written a business book, and we've talked about that in the past. So what's the book? And you said it was done a few years ago, so it's still relevant, but maybe some aging naturally occurs.
Not that much. It was called School for Startups, also published by McGraw-Hill.
Oh, okay.
And one of the things that was so interesting is you hear the story, I sent out 100 letters and got 99 rejections. Actually, we sent out 1 letter to 1 company, and 1 week later, we had a signed deal with McGraw-Hill because the thesis was so compelling. And that book takes some of the principles that I just talked about and shows the businesses that were built that way. The first business was a bet that I made with my MBA class. I was a nighttime MBA professor at a downtown school, and I bet that I could start a business that semester, make it cash flow positive, and get all of my startup capital repaid. They got to choose the country and the industry that I started the business in. The class thought they were funny, so they chose Pakistan and furniture. So I had 3.5 months to build a profitable Pakistani furniture company. And I'll send you some video and some stills for you to insert here to show the product that we actually came up with. I took Killam carpet, 100-year-old Pakistani oriental rugs, and we took those and we cut them up and made them into the fabric on a traditional American-shaped sized chair, a Queen Anne chair, a George Washington armchair that looks great next to a distressed leather sofa in a ski lodge in Aspen. That chair sells for $2,000 each. We bought it, imported it for $400. I won the bet, and the book is about how we did that bet again and again and again.
No, that's really cool. And a shout out to McGraw-Hill. So that would be right here. And the point I want to make, so good people did a tour of duty with him. This was an exam cram, and the point it kind of flew by a little quick. This was written a long time ago in the Microsoft certification era. It's a big deal. I'm going to give you 2001, copyright 2001. And the point is a lot of my writing is irrelevant now, right? That these exams don't even exist, and that's what I was kind of getting at on the aging. But it sounds like you have an evergreen book, which, by the way, that's what I do. That's what I'm trying to do.
It still sells well, and because the stories are still relevant, there's nothing that's changed in that formula, and so the thing now, though, what we're doing is we're writing the exact same book again and putting a new name on it and a new cover and releasing it as new. Just the way that so many of the people that you read who've published 50 books, you read all 50 and you're like, I've read this before. This is not new. We're going to repurpose and retask the content and put a fresh spin on it and get it out again.
Yeah, I'm north of 20 books. Now, again, most of them were technical and out of print and out of date, and it's nice eye candy. But I've done that, Jim, because in '03, my first business book was basically how to be a small business server consultant, because we weren't having a business conversation. We were having engineering conversations. Jim, I go to the, as I said on your show, I go to mini storage. I found the CD, so I didn't have to retype from the beginning. And I updated it to remove Gateway Country Stores, the
I
Hysteria.
love Gateway. You remember the boxes?
Oh yeah, yeah. And the country stores were
Uh-huh.
they were the original Apple store. They were
Yes.
gorgeous, ahead of their time in many ways. And so you get the point. Had to strip out eBay references because that's no longer part of the conversation.
Relevant, yeah.
Had to strip out Gateway. And so people would see a little bit of that. But when I revise a book, I think McGraw-Hill and the others had a standard to call it a revision or a new edition. There was some measurement in the industry. It had to be 25% new or something, right? You can't just change a couple of pages and call it edition 2 and overprice it and sell it to college kids.
No, we're going to change a lot more than that. And I am excited. I will not be publishing with McGraw-Hill again. So you had a different experience than I did.
Well, I self-publish now, so
I do too.
Yeah,
make a lot more money that way.
Yeah, I'll just, I'm not going down that rabbit hole, but I'm happier and so on. Hey, finally, and forgive my rudeness, but I believe you're in the Southeast. Tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll call it good for Hello World.
I wanted to be the CEO of Coca-Cola. That was my dream. I studied Japanese and got an MBA in Japan and worked for Coca-Cola in Japan. And one day they escorted me to the door and said, "We don't like you," and never come back. And I had a midlife crisis disaster at the age of 24 and have been an entrepreneur ever since. I haven't had a job since I was 24 years old and like it that way. 4 children. This
Good
is funny.
Lord.
They ranged from 23 to 4 years in age, which
Wow.
people always get a good chuckle at. And I love woodworking. I'm building now a tree house that my wife jokes, how many bathrooms is it going to have? But I've enjoyed the daylights out of building the tree house, and I'm actually going to put it up on Airbnb and see what I can do with that. So
all right.
Here
Well,
I
hey,
am.
I'll be a customer, and I'm not being facetious. I love Airbnb. Jim, I found, and back when we could travel, I was upwards of 33% to 50% travel as a member of the press corps in my industry and so on. And when it was my nickel, I love Airbnb. And you know what I found out, Jim? And I don't know so much anymore since the cleaning fees are as big as the evening rental. They somehow that became a thing. But back in the day, I literally did some back of the napkin, and I'm sitting here going, I probably save $5,000 a year by using Airbnb. If you're willing to just be in someone's house in a room and go down the hall and get your ice, dude, I mean, that's real money.
Well, on the other side, and I actually asked the Airbnb guy this, he was on my radio show.
Oh.
I described the property. Our Airbnb, so the treehouse I'm building has multiple rooms. It has a sleeping room. It has a porch. It's overlooking a creek with complete wooded, isolation. But it also has access to our normal, traditional, brand new bathroom and a swimming pool and a hot tub and all sorts of other stuff. He said that if we rent it 3 nights a month, it'll pay our mortgage. Well, that to me is just a no-brainer right there. If I can get my mortgage as an entrepreneur, it's another stream of income. It's a way of, again, reducing our risk. And so I'm all over it. Even 2 weekends a month, my mortgage is paid for, and my risk goes down. I sleep better.
Yeah. Just paid off the boys, and again, with all due respect, but we worked hard but paid off their college debt, and I was paying the debt. I'm trying to do the right thing, but waved my magic wand, paid that off, and that's a big swing every month. I mean, now we're talking, man.
Yes. Well, my son just graduated. I'm so proud. He graduated with no college debt. I was, there's nothing nicer
Oh yeah,
than to
yeah.
hear than that. So I
Well,
was
that's
so
what I
proud of
told.
him.
Yeah, I told my boys as young men. You've got a hell of a balance sheet. I mean, and you and I could go on, and maybe we'll talk about that next time. So we're going to circle back to you next quarter. But folks, what I want you to do is bookmark schoolforstartupsradio.com, and again, the links below. And then Jim, we've got ahead and inserted some of the stuff, ancillary material you sent us. And then finally, School for Startups Radio. So it's a daily podcast and radio show. What are the mechanics?
We're a radio show on 25 AM FM stations around the country in big cities like Washington, D.C. and Tampa and Pittsburgh and Milwaukee and Long Beach, and some really small cities that none of us have ever heard of, like Show Low, Arizona. We're popular there, and Opelika, Alabama. We're big in Opelika, I hear. We talk about entrepreneurship, anything that remotely relates to entrepreneurship, 6 days a week. And we do, all of the stuff you would expect, finance, marketing, and HR and operations. But we also do parenting as an entrepreneur, and saving for college as an entrepreneur, and tax considerations as an entrepreneur, or mindset things, how to become more creative, anything that remotely relates to entrepreneurship we talk about. So we're about 8 years in. We've done about 2,000 shows now, and we won the Small Business Administration Media Award, which is a national award we were excited about.
I see that. Well, I think the reason we can work together, and I talked about it on your show and just socially with you, but this book is the Blue Ocean Strategy. So that's an optimistic view of the world. And the point was, Jim, on the one hand, you could say, well, I've got my entrepreneurial system and you've got yours, and we're competitors, but we're not, because the example I used on your show was, Jim, you majored, one of your areas of study was Japanese. Did you only read one book about the Japanese language? And the answer is no. You probably, as any college student, had a row of them.
Yep.
So there's
still do. I still have 30 or 40 books that I moved from every house.
Yeah.
Know why? I don't know why, but I got them still.
There's room for everybody. Well, hey, we're going to circle back to you in Q4. Thank you, sir. And folks, bookmark it, and leave Jim a review after you listen to one or two of the shows.
Thanks so much.